This dinosaur ate its own kind, and it was an apex predator from Madagascar. This is the Majungasaurus, and no, you're not seeing things. Mother Nature was not kind when designing this dinosaur. Its tiny, useless arms had no functional elbows, and its fingers were fused together. Its legs were so short that this 23-foot-long dinosaur stands only around 6 feet tall. The Majungasaurus looked so ridiculous, in fact, that its nicknames include the Sausagesaurus and the Hot Dog Lizard. But despite its appearance, the Majungasaurus was no joke, being the top apex predator in Madagascar during the late Cretaceous period. But alongside its predatory dominance and its comical appearance, it had a dark secret. In 2003, paleontologists made an eye-opening discovery which changed everything we thought was possible or capable about the Majungasaurus and other theropod dinosaurs in general. While excavating its fossils, they uncovered rib bones from a Majungasaurus riddled with deep teeth marks. At first, it seemed obvious. A massive undiscovered predator had fed on this unfortunate dinosaur. But this was not the case, as the Majungasaurus was the biggest predator roaming Madagascar at this time. As more fossils and teeth were found in the years that followed, paleontologists decided to take a closer look. By studying the bite radius of the teeth marks, it was clear that the culprit wasn't some other undiscovered dinosaur stalking the region, it was in fact another Majungasaurus. By lining up the bite marks of the rib bone with the Majungasaurus teeth, paleontologists could prove that this dinosaur had been cannibalized and was fed on by its own kind. This was a groundbreaking moment for paleontology. The discovery provided the first hard evidence ever of cannibalism among dinosaurs. Some people may suggest that this could have been a one-off rare event, that this particular Majungasaurus could have been hungry and while scavenging it stumbled across a dead Majungasaurus body. However, the fossil records reveal multiple instances of this dinosaur eating its own kind. One discovery even found Majungasaurus bones in the stomach contents of another Majungasaurus. A study published in 2007 confirmed that the dinosaur did not just eat its own kind, it almost certainly killed its own kind too, as more bones from a fight between two Majungasauruses were found, and numerous bones of one individual had bite marks, and most interestingly, they appeared to be no signs of healing. This strongly suggests that the injuries were fatal, given the bone had no chance to heal, and the victim was eaten shortly after death, or perhaps even during the fight. So this was hard evidence that they often engaged in brutal and sometimes fatal fights with their own kind, with the loser of the fight being eaten. It's a dinosaur you would not want to meet, even if you were a Majungasaurus yourself. But how can paleontologists be so sure and confident all of these injuries were inflicted by another Majungasaurus? It's surprisingly easy to identify bite marks of the Majungasaurus. The skull and teeth were unique and had a much different biting style compared to other large predators during this time. With its broad, short and dense skull, it was better designed for biting down and gripping rather than slicing its prey. This made it highly efficient at holding onto prey and possibly its unfortunate rivals. The skull also featured a distinct horn made from bone on the top of its snout. Early paleontologists even mistook this horn for the dome of a pachycephalosaur. Most researchers agree it was likely used for display purposes, perhaps to attract mates. Its hollow structure made it too weak for combat, but the exact purpose of this horn still remains a mystery. On paper, life as a Majungasaurus should have been very easy. It was the biggest and strongest predator in its region, perfectly adapted to dominate in its environment. But the reality was far more brutal. Its greatest threat wasn't other species, it was itself. Majungasaurus faced constant danger from its own kind, often engaging in fatal fights where the loser was devoured. Despite this savage lifestyle, the Majungasaurus was very successful. So successful, in fact, that it was able to kill its own kind and still thrive for millions of years, and went extinct roughly 66 million years ago when the asteroid wiped out 75% of all species on Earth, making it one of the last known non-avian dinosaurs to go extinct. The Allosaurus was one of the most terrifying dinosaurs you could come across. It was a 2-ton nightmare, built for speed, agility, and brutal efficiency. Clocking in at speeds over 34 miles an hour, it could easily outrun even the fastest human. Usain Bolt wouldn't stand a chance. But it wasn't just its speed that made it terrifying. It was how it used that speed to ambush and overpower its prey. Unlike the T-Rex, which relied on sheer size and crushing power, the Allosaurus was an ambush predator, using its smaller, more agile frame to strike fast and hard. Its size made it particularly dangerous. At about 30 feet long, it was large enough to take down massive prey, and small enough that something human-sized would have been the perfect snack. What's worse, the Allosaurus didn't kill its victims quickly. Fossil evidence suggests that instead of delivering a single fatal bite, it would pin its prey to the ground with its muscular arms and 6-inch long razor-sharp claws. Imagine being held down by a modern eagle, only scaled up to the size of a truck. This would have been what it was like to be held down by an Allosaurus. But the horror didn't stop there. The Allosaurus likely began eating its prey while it was still alive, tearing chunks of flesh off with its serrated teeth. This method wasn't just gruesome, but efficient as well. By immobilizing its prey with its claws and delivering repeated bites, the Allosaurus could wear its victim down through blood loss and shock, ensuring a kill without expending too much energy. For smaller dinosaurs, escape was nearly impossible. The Allosaurus' combination of speed, agility, and brutal predatory tactics made it one of the most terrifying predators of the Jurassic and one of the worst dinosaurs you could ever imagine coming face to face with. The Allosaurus wasn't built for brute force like the T-Rex, but that didn't make it any less lethal. Instead, it relied on unique adaptations in its teeth and skull to become one of the most efficient predators of its time. Its teeth were serrated on both the front and back edges, functioning like prehistoric steak knives. These serrations weren't designed to hold on to struggling prey, but to slice through their flesh with incredible precision. Each bite left deep, jagged wounds that caused massive blood loss, slowly wearing down even the largest of prey. One of the Allosaurus' most remarkable features was its kinetic skull. Unlike most predators, whose skulls were rigid for stability, the Allosaurus' skull was flexible. Certain bones in its skull could move independently, allowing its jaw to open to an astonishing 73 degrees. Some estimates suggest it could even reach 90 degrees. For comparison, the T-Rex could open its mouth to 63.5 degrees. This flexibility gave the Allosaurus the ability to take enormous bites, making it easier to tear large chunks of flesh off of its prey. But the Allosaurus' hunting style was where it truly stood out. Its relatively weak bite force, less than a modern lion, made it seem like a disadvantage, but it turned its skull into a deadly weapon. Instead of relying on a powerful bite, the Allosaurus used its head like a hatchet. It would swing its neck and upper jaw downward with immense force, driving its serrated teeth deep into its prey. Fossil evidence suggests its skull could withstand forces 15 times greater than its own bite strength, reinforcing the idea that it was built for this brutal hacking method. With every strike, the Allosaurus caused devastating wounds, making escape almost impossible for its victims. This combination of precision teeth, a flexible skull, and its hatchet-like hunting style made the Allosaurus a true master of the Jurassic period. The Allosaurus wasn't just a normal predator though, it was a nightmare for its prey. Its tactics were efficient, but they were also horrifying. While many predators rely on a quick kill, some paleontologists believe the Allosaurus engaged in a gruesome behavior called flesh grazing. This involved biting chunks of flesh off of live prey, leaving the animal injured but still alive. For the Allosaurus, this wasn't just brutality, it was a strategy. By keeping the prey alive, it ensured a steady food source it could return to over time. Imagine the scene, a massive sauropod like a Brontosaurus or a Diplodocus, 10 times the size of an Allosaurus, grazing peacefully, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. With its speed and agility, the Allosaurus would launch an ambush, delivering a series of slicing bites using its serrated teeth and flexible skull. But instead of killing outright, the predator might retreat, allowing the wounded sauropod to heal just enough to survive, until the Allosaurus returned for another bite. This brutal feeding method would have minimized the energy required to hunt, making it an efficient but gruesome way to survive in the harsh Jurassic landscape. But the Allosaurus wasn't just targeting the massive giants of its ecosystem. Fossil evidence also shows it went head-to-head with heavily armored prey. Among the many challenges the Allosaurus faced as a predator, few were as dangerous as its clashes with the Stegosaurus. While the Allosaurus dominated the Jurassic landscape as an apex predator, the Stegosaurus was no easy prey. armed with a spiked tail capable of delivering devastating blows and bony plates along its back, the Stegosaurus was more than capable of defending itself. Fossil evidence reveals that these two Jurassic titans crossed paths. The results were often a brutal and bloody battle. One of the most compelling fossils comes from an Allosaurus tail vertebra with a partially healed puncture wound. A wound that perfectly matches the size and shape of a Stegosaurus tail spike. This suggests that the Stegosaurus fought back during a direct encounter, inflicting a serious injury that the Allosaurus somehow survived. On the other hand, the Stegosaurus fossils show bite marks on their plates and spikes that match the teeth of an Allosaurus, further proving these dinosaurs actively fought each other. These battles were far from one-sided though. While the Stegosaurus' spiked tail, known as a thagomizer, could deliver bone-shattering strikes, the Allosaurus had weapons of its own. Its strong, muscular arms, tipped with 6-inch claws, allowed it to grapple with the heavily armoured herbivore, holding it in place while delivering devastating bites. Using its hatchet-like skull and serrated teeth, the Allosaurus would aim for vulnerable areas, such as the neck or underbelly, to weaken its opponent. Despite its advantages, even the Allosaurus had to be cautious when attacking a Stegosaurus. A single well-placed tail swing could be fatal, forcing the predator to rely on its speed, agility, and strategic ambush tactics. These clashes were not just fights, they were survival of the fittest, showing the incredible adaptations of both predators and prey involved to thrive in the unforgiving Jurassic landscape. Whether it was flesh grazing a giant sauropod or grappling with an armoured Stegosaurus, the Allosaurus' versatility and ruthlessness made it one of the most effective predators of the Jurassic. Its prey may have ranged from the large to the heavily armoured, but for the Allosaurus, the strategy was always the same: adapt, attack, and survive. For millions of years, the Allosaurus ruled the Jurassic as one of its most dominant predators, but even the most fearsome apex predators are not immune to the forces of nature. Around 144 million years ago, at the end of the Jurassic period, the Allosaurus faced a series of challenges that would ultimately lead to its extinction. This period, known as the Jurassic Cretaceous transition, brought dramatic environmental changes. Shifting climates, fluctuating sea levels, and volcanic activity disrupted ecosystems that the Allosaurus depended on for survival. These changes caused a decline in the large herbivores that formed the core of its diet, such as the Brontosaurus or the Diplodocus. Without these massive prey species, the Allosaurus struggled to find the resources it needed to sustain its population. Compounding all of this was the rise of the new competitors and predators during the early Cretaceous. These emerging species were better adapted for the changing environment, gradually outcompeting the Allosaurus for food and territory. The once dominant predator found itself in a losing battle for survival. Long periods of drought and disease may have further weakened the Allosaurus' populations, pushing them to the brink. Fossil evidence suggests that some species of the Allosaurus lingered into the early Cretaceous, but they never regained their dominance they once held during the Jurassic. Eventually, the shifting ecosystems and relentless pressures proved too much. The Allosaurus disappeared from the fossil record. Its extinction marked the end of an era, but the Allosaurus left behind a legacy as one of the most successful and terrifying predators of the Jurassic. Though it could not adapt to the changing world, its fossilized remains serve as a reminder of its reign as a master of survival in the harsh and unforgiving prehistoric landscape. Ichi was a dinosaur which looked like a real-life dragon, while the Zhenhuaolong was a feathered raptor with a full set of wings that could not fly. China was home to some of the most bizarre and mythical-like dinosaurs ever discovered, and nothing shows this better than the Microraptor. This dinosaur wasn't like the others. Microraptor had feathers on both of its legs as well as its arms, creating an unusual four-winged profile. Its long, feathered tail acted like a rudder. This body plan made it perfect for gliding. It was about the size of a modern crow, measuring around 2.5 to 3 feet long and weighing about 2 to 3 pounds. Microraptor's wings weren't suited for powered flight, but it used its legs and tail for stability and control. It likely lived in forested environments, leaping from tree to tree in search of prey to evade predators. This agile creature was likely an opportunistic predator, feeding on fish, birds, and lizards, using its sharp teeth and claws to catch its prey. Fossil evidence even suggests it was capable of catching fish making it one of the first known dinosaurs to hunt on both land and in water. Microraptor fossils are among the best preserved examples of feathered dinosaurs, with intricate details in its feather structure visible. Living around 120 million years ago, its discovery was groundbreaking, providing strong evidence of an evolutionary link between non-avian dinosaurs and birds. But not all of China's strange dinosaurs were small feathered carnivores. Some of them were monster-sized herbivores, like the Majungasaurus, which was discovered in Sichuan, China. This thing was a true giant and was one of the biggest sauropods to ever exist, with a ridiculously long neck. It was so long, in fact, it had the longest neck of any animal in history, with estimates suggesting the neck could measure over 50 foot long, accounting for more than half of its body length, and is equivalent to just over 8 giraffe necks stacked end to end. But surprisingly, this massive neck wasn't as heavy as you might think. Majungasaurus had evolved an ingenious way to support it: numerous balloon-like air sacs. These air sacs extended throughout its neck, chest, and abdomen, connecting directly to its lungs and windpipe. Even its neck bones were hollowed out with a lattice of air pockets, meaning around 70% of their volume was empty space. This adaptation significantly reduced the weight of its neck, allowing it to move efficiently while still maintaining its massive size. The air sacs also helped the Majungasaurus breathe more efficiently, moving large amounts of air through its lengthy respiratory system. This wasn't just a party trick though, it was a survival advantage. With its towering neck, Majungasaurus could access treetops others couldn't reach, foraging across a wide area without the need to move. 160 million years ago, in an ecosystem where food could be scarce, this adaptation saved energy and ensured a steady supply of sustenance. But this gentle herbivore wasn't defenseless. Its tail was thought to act like a massive whip, capable of striking predators like the Allosaurus with bone-cracking force. But when people think of ancient China and perhaps mythical lore of Chinese culture, most people don't think of massive sauropods. They think of dragons. And this is where the Wolong bohiensis comes in. Its name translates to a dancing dragon, and straight away you can see how it got its name just with its appearance. It was a small feathered dinosaur with long feathered arms and legs. Its fossils suggest agility and a lightweight build, implying it was a fast and active animal. Wolong was a dromaeosaurid, part of the raptor family closely related to the velociraptor and early birds. Unlike modern birds though, Wolong had feathers primarily for display, insulation, or gliding, rather than sustained flight. It showcases the transition between non-avian dinosaurs and birds, helping scientists understand how flight and feathers evolved. It was a carnivore, with a mouthful of pointy teeth and one particularly dangerous toe claw. It probably hunted small mammals, lizards, birds, and fish. Its long, slender body, feathered wings, and tail gave it a striking dragon-like silhouette. The fossil remains suggest a mix of bird-like and reptilian traits, reinforcing its mythical aura. Dragons hold significant symbolic meaning in Chinese culture, often representing strength, agility, and mystical qualities. Since Wolong was discovered in the Liaoning province in China, naming it Dancing Dragon is also a nod to its cultural heritage. But if any dinosaur truly deserves the title of real-life dragon, it's Ichi. Its name means strange wing in Mandarin Chinese, which perfectly describes its bizarre and one-of-a-kind wing structure. Unlike any other dinosaur, Ichi had a pair of membranous wings, supported by a long, rod-like bone extending from its wrist, more akin to the wings of bats or petrosaurs than birds. The fossils of Yichi were remarkably well preserved. Not only were the bones in excellent condition, but so were the rock and soft tissue, which included wing membranes, bristly body feathers, gizzard stones, and even contents of its last meal in its stomach. These fossils reveal its dragon-like appearance. It combined feathers with leathery membranes, creating a hybrid look that blurred the line between bird and reptile. The rod-like bone, called the styloform, extended from its wrist to support the membrane, forming a unique wing structure. This adaptation set Ichi apart from all the other theropods, making it one of the strangest gliders in prehistoric history. Weighing less than 1 pound, Ichi was light enough to glide between treetops, much like modern-day flying squirrels. It may have used its wings to escape predators, hunt for insects, or move between trees in search of food. Likely an insectivore or omnivore, its diet consisted of insects, small animals, and possibly soft plants and fruits. But why the feathers? Even with its bat-like wings, Ichi retained feathers along its body. Scientists believe these feathers provide insulation, helping it survive in cooler climates. Feathers may also have served a secondary purpose, such as display during mating rituals or territorial disputes, adding to its already dragon-like allure. With its membranous wings and feathered body, Ichi is a fascinating blend of form and function. And it's clear now that China was not short of ancient dinosaurs that resemble dragons, and the Zhenhuaolong further proves this. At nearly 6 feet long, this feathered raptor is the largest dinosaur ever found with wings. Found in China's Liaoning province, its fossils are almost perfectly preserved and covered in feathers, just like modern birds. But scientists believe it was simply too heavy to actually fly. So what were these wings used for? With its dragon-like appearance, they might have been used in colourful displays to attract a mate, protect its eggs, and even intimidate other predators. Despite its flightlessness, it was a killing machine, armed with sharp claws and serrated teeth, ideal for slicing through flesh. It was a carnivore, built for ambush. Its skeletal structure suggests it was adapted for running rather than flying. Its wings and tail feathers may have aided in balance during quick turns and pounces, especially in uneven forest terrain. It likely hunted smaller dinosaurs like microraptors or lizards, pinning them down with its claws before delivering a killing bite. Zhenhuaolong lived 125 million years ago in what is now China. It was a feathered dinosaur with dragon-like features that have fascinated scientists and dinosaur fans alike, demonstrating that feathered wings weren't just for taking to the skies, they were tools for survival, communication, and mating. China's predators were undeniably unique, including their very own version of the T-Rex. The Majungasaurus, with a very long nose, has been nicknamed Pinocchio Rex. Bear with me on the pronunciation of this one, guys. This 29-foot-long tyrannosaur roamed southern China 70 million years ago, named after Chuanju, the region where it was unearthed. This predator weighed over 2,000 pounds and boasted a feature that set it apart from its relatives, an elongated, slender snout. This unique snout wasn't just for show, and unlike the bulky T-Rex, the Pinocchio Rex was built for speed and precision. Its lightweight frame and long narrow jaw made it a specialised hunter, capable of targeting smaller, faster prey. It likely stalked dinosaurs like the Psittacosaurus, the Corethroraptor, and even early mammals, using its sharp, serrated teeth to deliver quick, fatal bites. The elongated snout allowed the Pinocchio Rex to grab prey with accuracy, preventing smaller animals from slipping away. Once caught, its powerful jaws and teeth made short work of its meal. This adaptation gave it an advantage over its larger, slower tyrannosaur cousins, allowing it to fill a unique niche in its ecosystem. Nicknamed for its resemblance to the storybook character, Pinocchio Rex demonstrates the remarkable diversity of predatory dinosaurs in China. Agile, precise, and deadly. It thrived by combining speed and specialized hunting techniques, a perfect example of evolution at its most creative. It could grow larger than a T-Rex and bite through anything it wanted to. The Carcharodontosaurus was one of the largest theropods to ever walk the earth. But what made this apex predator one of the deadliest hunters of all time? And why is it less famous than its iconic cousins? Around 100 million years ago, during the late Cretaceous, the largest meat-eating dinosaur in Earth's history, the Spinosaurus, emerged. A 16-meter-long giant weighing up to 2,000 kilograms. But people often forget that the Spinosaurus wasn't the only huge dinosaur roaming North Africa at this time. In 2008, a Spinosaurus vertebra was recovered, with part of the tall neural spine broken off. It appears to have been bitten in half, but what kind of animal could have been large enough or brave enough to even attempt such a thing on a monster like the Spinosaurus? It has been suggested that the bite may have been inflicted by a Carcharodontosaurus. This theropod was more terrifying and powerful than the Spinosaurus, and with teeth so deadly, it was named the shark-toothed lizard. Despite its fearsome reputation, the story of the Carcharodontosaurus was nearly lost to history. Multiple fossils were discovered in the early 1900s, but many of these were tragically lost during the bombing of Munich in World War II. For decades, this giant predator remained a mystery. It wasn't until new discoveries were made in 1995 and 2005 that scientists were finally able to piece together more of its story. So what made the shark-toothed lizard capable of dominating North America alongside the Spino? Using bone fragments, incomplete skulls, and teeth from 2 discovered species, paleontologists have been able to estimate its size and appearance. The larger of the two, the Carcharodontosaurus saharicus, stood out with its massive frame. It was one of the largest predatory dinosaurs known, even larger than Tyrannosaurus rex. It is sometimes referred to as the African T-Rex, though the two dinosaurs are not related. It was capable of reaching up to 40 feet in length, with a hip height of nearly 12 feet, making it more than twice the height of the average human. Weighing anywhere between 6 and 15 tons, this dinosaur was truly massive. The Carcharodontosaurus had a surprisingly small brain. It wasn't always a giant. In its earlier stages, it was much smaller. However, when it grew in size and evolved over time, its brain remained relatively small. For reference, while the Carcharodontosaurus was larger than a T-Rex, its brain was only half of its size, suggesting it wasn't the smartest of dinosaurs. But intelligence wasn't necessary when it could easily overpower and destroy almost any animal it encountered. While it didn't have the strongest bite among theropods, its bite force was estimated at around 3,000 pounds per square inch, much weaker than the T-Rex's devastating 12,800 psi or the Spinosaurus's 4,200 psi, but more than made up for this with a deadly adaptation: its teeth. The Carcharodontosaurus's jaws were lined with about 60 razor-sharp, jagged teeth to tear apart both flesh and bone, bearing a resemblance to the dentition of sharks. These teeth, similar to the blades of a steak knife, were perfect for ripping through the flesh of its prey. With every bite, it could carve deep wounds, allowing its victims to bleed out quickly. The teeth were sharp enough to slice through tough hides and even bone, making them a crucial part of this predator's hunting strategy. Though the Carcharodontosaurus had a weaker bite compared to other large predators, it had a few other traits that made it a deadly hunter. It was surprisingly fast for its size, with some estimates suggesting it could run up to 20 miles per hour. These calculations come from fossilized footprints found near where the Carcharodontosaurus saharicus remains were discovered. Preserved lung tissue on the fossils also revealed air sacs similar to those found in modern birds. This unique feature allowed the Carcharodontosaurus to take in more oxygen with each breath, helping it run longer and faster in the pursuit of prey. This is unlike the T-Rex, which evolved to rely almost entirely on its bite. The Carcharodontosaurus had a more versatile hunting approach. Further research into this creature's hunting techniques suggests it was most likely an ambush predator. We can infer this by examining the skull, particularly its tall, narrow snout and its laterally facing eyes. These features restrict binocular vision to a region of approximately 20 degrees wide, comparable to that of modern crocodiles. This is a common trait in ambush predators. The limited binocular vision would have been helpful for focusing on prey and judging distances, allowing precise timing when launching an attack. With its powerful legs, the Carcharodontosaurus could quickly close the gap once it was within range, relying on speed for the final chase. But it wasn't just its legs that made this apex predator so dangerous. Another surprising advantage lay in its arms. While huge theropods, especially the T-Rex, are famous for their tiny and seemingly useless arms, the Carcharodontosaurus's arms were different. Its arms were longer compared to the T-Rex, equipped with 3 long, sharp claws at the end of its fingers, as opposed to the T-Rex's 2. These upper limbs were also packed with muscle. It's believed that these limbs were primarily used to grapple with large prey, either to hold it in place or to inflict deep slashing wounds. Digital models and simulations have shown that the Carcharodontosaurus could have used its muscular arms to lift prey, with estimates suggesting it could successfully lift a maximum body mass of 850 kilograms, heavier than a fully grown adult male grizzly bear. Once within range of its target, the Carcharodontosaurus would have deployed its devastating shark-like bite to cut deep into its prey, causing massive damage and significant blood loss. After landing a deadly bite, it would likely not waste energy on further attacks. Instead, it would simply follow its prey, waiting for it to bleed to death. With this hunting strategy, the Carcharodontosaurus could kill massive prey without the need for an intense struggle. This was an efficient killing method that it had mastered, and it was completely different from the hunting style of the Spinosaurus, which specialized in wetlands and rivers. This huge difference in hunting environments is likely the key reasons these two giants could thrive alongside each other. North Africa had 2 deadly killers, but by exploiting different environments, they did not have to compete with one another to coexist. This was likely good news for the Spinosaurus, which primarily fed on fish and smaller animals. While the Spinosaurus had the advantage in size and weight, the Carcharodontosaurus more than made up for it with its aggressive and powerful hunting style. Earlier we mentioned a Spinosaurus vertebra was found in 2008, with its neural spine bitten in half. While we may never know for sure what caused this injury, it's clear that the Cagarodontosaurus was more than capable of causing this damage. With its powerful jaws, shark-like teeth, and unique hunting strategies, it's easy to see how it could have stood up to the mighty Spinosaurus. If the two ever crossed paths, the outcome likely depended on where they met. In the water, Spinosaurus would have had the clear advantage, but on land, Cagarodontosaurus was faster, more agile, and its deadly hunting techniques would have made it a dominant force. Even though the Cagarodontosaurus was one of the largest and deadliest theropods, it wasn't immune to extinction. Long before any asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs, both the Cagarodontosaurus and Spinosaurus vanished. But why? Around 94 million years ago, the world changed. Rising sea levels, global warming, and volcanic activity altered habitats dramatically. These shifts didn't just affect the oceans. On land, they separated large populations of the Cagarodontosaurus and introduced smaller, faster predators that outcompeted them for food. For the Spinosaurus situation, it was even worse. As swamps and rivers dried up, its specialized hunting techniques became useless. With fewer resources and increasing competition, even the largest carnivores could not survive. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and check out another one of our deep dives into a fascinating apex predator.